We begin the show with some breaking news. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington has launched, quote, an attack on nuclear sites in Iran. Posting on social media, Trump said, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on the way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." That was President Donald Trump on Truth Social. He went on to say that Iran must now agree to end the conflict. He's due to address the nation in about an hour's time. We'll bring you that coverage of the speech. But for now, I'm joined by DW Washington correspondent Misha Komodovsky. Misha, thank you for being here. Now, Trump had said on Friday that he will decide on an Iran attack within the next 2 weeks, and now this has happened. Was this expected any earlier?
Well, as we know, at first, President Trump had been only hinting at U.S. involvement in the Middle East, some say at the risk of losing the element of surprise because he made it public. Now it did come as surprise, as President Trump had previously pledged to decide on Iran action within 2 weeks. And now we saw that he said on social media that the U.S. military carried out airstrikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, which marks the first direct American involvement in Israel's campaign to basically dismantle Iran's nuclear program. The move risks sparking a wider regional war as Iran has vowed to retaliate. Tehran, though, has not yet confirmed the strikes, and President Trump announced the U.S. struck the 3 nuclear sites, as you said, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, and added that all planes have left Iranian airspace and, as he said, are on the way home. And the attack marks a major shift for President Trump. He came to office promising to keep the U.S. out of foreign wars and often criticized military interventions.
Now, Trump also wrote that Fordo is now gone. This site is quite significant. It's deep underground, and it used to be conventional wisdom that Israel can't destroy Fordo on its own. Do we know more about the site?
Well, Israel had been targeting Iran's air defenses and missile systems for over a week, but U.S. officials said only American bombers could deliver the 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb needed to hit deeply buried nuclear sites. For instance, like Fordo, which is a highly fortified underground nuclear site in Iran, it was essentially built to withstand airstrikes like this and has been a key focus of international concern due to its potential role in Iran's nuclear weapon development.
It's important to say, of course, that we don't have any confirmation from the Iranian side. We've not heard if Fordo has been damaged and to what extent. Now, let's take a closer look at the Fordo nuclear facility and what it means for Iran. Iran's secretive Fordo fuel enrichment plant has been buried deep underground and is considered virtually unreachable by conventional air weapons. It's not confirmed yet what exactly the U.S. used to attack the nuclear facility, but the only way to do it successfully, according to experts, would be to use a bunker-busting bomb.
The GBU-57, better known as a bunker buster or the massive ordnance penetrator. And the U.S. is the only country in the world that has them.
The GBU-57, which is the massive ordnance penetrator that's being discussed heavily in terms of American involvement in Iran, can actually penetrate up to 200 feet before detonating its ordnance. It is the only weapon in anyone's arsenal globally that's able to successfully target and potentially even eliminate facilities like Fordo. It was designed originally with the intent of attacking and destroying targets specifically built into mountains.
The Fordo facility southwest of Tehran is at the heart of Iran's nuclear program. It includes hundreds of centrifuges, reportedly buried up to 90 meters underground inside a mountain. And according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, the site has been used by Iran to enrich uranium to 60%, well beyond what's required for civilian purposes.
So, Misha, Trump now says that it is up to Iran to agree to an end to this war. In his Truth Social post, he also said that it is, quote, now time for peace. Do we know what comes next?
Well, evidently, in the days before the strike, Trump and his team basically came to conclusion that diplomacy had failed here and military action was needed to stop Iran's nuclear program. Days before, he said that it's never too late for negotiations. And on Thursday, as we know, he said he would decide in the next 2 weeks, giving Iran basically one chance to negotiate. But behind the scenes, preparations for a strike sped up over the weekend. On Saturday, several B-2 stealth bombers able to carry massive bunker-busting bombs were seen flying over the Pacific, fueling more of speculation that Fordo would be targeted. And according to President Trump, it was indeed targeted. And President Trump had previously backed a peaceful diplomatic solution, but warned that time to strike a deal with Iran was running out, and now he approved of these strikes against Iran. A wave of criticism is expected from across the U.S. political spectrum. Lawmakers from both parties, from both Republican and Democratic, were pushing to block Trump from going to war with Iran without congressional approval. And even within MAGA circles, if we pay closer look here, the support is splitting. Figures like Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon were publicly warning against U.S. involvement in another Middle East conflict.
Mm-hmm. As we've said, we haven't heard from Iranian authorities yet, but have we heard from Israel?
Not yet. We are yet to see a statement from Jerusalem and from Tehran. And as you mentioned on top of the program, President Trump is expected to address the nation at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is basically in 53 minutes. And we're hopefully going to hear on his contacts with his Israeli counterparts and perhaps the demands that he would put up front in front of Iran.
Now, as you've said, this was not expected the way this has happened, but Trump had mentioned that he would decide on an Iranian attack in 2 weeks. What talk has there been among the Republicans in the U.S. about U.S. involvement in Iran?
Well, as I said, basically lawmakers from across the U.S. political spectrum were trying to voice their concerns over this operation, and notably, lawmakers from both parties in both the House and the Senate were pushing to block President Trump from going to war. They were basically citing a requirement that only Congress and only Congress can approve any military operations or going to war with another country, in this case Iran, without lawmakers' approval. And this is something that is going to be talked over and discussed in the political cycles here in Washington within the next hours, days, and possibly weeks. And as we saw, there is even criticism among his closest MAGA allies like Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon.
That's DW correspondent Misha Komardowski in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for all of that context.